How's it, Godzilla fans, kaiju fans, collectors, and just general people of YouTube? This is Chanzilla1964 coming back to you with another figure review. This time we're going to be reviewing the Bandai Movie Monster Series Battra Larva figure that released, I believe, either last month or the month before last month. Either way, let's get into this review and just get into detail. Starting off with detail for Battra, I want to start off with possibly the best part of the detail for me, which is going to be Battra's face. From his skin texture to how the face kind of goes from those evil bat larva looking face to the crown. That is, well, very Battra. It looks very, very nicely done. Even the horn, which I feel could have been a little more pointier, but I digress because I don't think it needed to be more pointy. I think the eye is very nicely done. It looks a lot more accurate compared to the original Battra figure, which I really appreciate. This side mandible over here is done very nicely. When we move to his face over here, I like how his eyes translate to this very menacing grimace, or this very menacing look for Battra. They included his two little horns here and his mouth. So face is very nicely detailed as well, including the three little spikes over here on the top of his head. And then how the crown kind of translates here is very nicely done, especially with this part. His underside is very nicely detailed with all of this kind of skin stretch kind of detail going on here for his underside larva parts. Kind of some of the stuff found on Mothra too. It's very nicely done. You'll find similar detail on his legs over here. Also very nicely done. Speaking of his legs, all of his individual little, I guess, crawly things are very nicely detailed. In my opinion, I really like how the Bandai did this. How this, especially this part, kind of breaks up and then it kind of looks more uniform and smaller. Yeah, I like what Bandai did with his legs this time around. What I even like even more is what Bandai did with his body, how it's a lot more dynamic, whereas instead of it just being kind of straight pose, it has a little more dynamic. As you can see, there's this little curve going on for it. I like very, very much. The tip of Battra's tail is very nicely detailed, and possibly the second best part compared to the head is his carapace over here, or his shell, is hardened shell. In my opinion, Battra's hardened shell is detailed very nicely as well, especially with all this kind of rocky texture detail over here. And then the spike details over here is very nicely done. I appreciate how they got the spike over here correct, and they added this little spike over here. Very, very nice little details added in by Bandai from the actual suit. So yeah, detail for Battra is very, very nicely done. Moving on to paint for Battra. Paint, on the other hand, what we have is, I really like what we have, but it leaves some to be desired, especially with the fact that Bandai couldn't have painted his red circles all the way down the tail and his feet all the way down the tail. I appreciate that they at least painted the tips of the tail, but Bandai couldn't have finished going all the way down. I mean, I would have forgiven all of this. I would have forgiven the fact that there's no yellow on here, and that this part of the horn isn't, or that this horn part isn't really uniform, or that this is a little splotchy. The paint for this part is a little bit splotchy. I would have forgiven all of that if they'd finished painting this and this for Battra. So paint is a little lackluster to me, although granted, I like the paint job a lot better than the original Bandai release for Battra Larva. It looks a whole lot nicer. I could do without the shiny gold and the shiny purple or shiny pink red thing going on with the OG one. So yeah, I like the paint. I just wish there was more. Moving to articulation for Battra, there is a glue seal here. However, it is glue sealed, so it doesn't move. And there's also a glue seal here for the head. The head does not move though, because it is glued in place. So sadly, this Battra is like one whole big statue. If there wasn't glue sealed and the head could move, I think this could have been One of the top contenders for one of Bandai's best figures for 2023. Even though there's lots of really good figures, but I'm really happy that they came out with the Battra Larva. It's just a shame that there's no articulation, and that Bandai's really pulling this stuff with the paint again. So yeah, that's kind of what killed his top contenders. But besides that, everything we have here, from the detail to the paint choice, is amazing for Battra. Now this review is going to be kind of short because there's nothing really much more to talk about besides size. Size is one of the bigger things going for Battra Larva because he is almost in perfect size with Mothra Larva, which this is a custom one from the old Mothra Larva that I had, as well as Godzilla. Even though in reality he was like this compared to Godzilla, this size actually still works because he's still should be pretty small compared to Godzilla. And with the scene where he's kind of going through the water and then he faces off of Mothra Larva, this looks really, really good too. But you know what? Even though it's not exactly wholly movie accurate, I still think this is a good size for Battra because, I mean, the divine moths in Godzilla are known to be more so on the small side. So, yeah. Sizing, just about perfect. Now, final thoughts on Battra. Just to sum everything up, detail is amazing. Paint, good choices of paint, but there's still some to be left desired. The legs and the dots. So Bandai just gotta finish painting everything through all the way. And articulation, absolutely no articulation, which is a shame, especially for this figure, especially for Battra, which is one of the more dynamic, or the only dynamic larva figure, which could translate well into vinyl figure form. Just saying. Besides that though, this is a really good figure, and I think I prefer this figure honestly over the original Battra Larva figure that Bandai came out with, solely because it's a lot more movie accurate looking and I like the paint a lot better, regardless that there's no articulation, because the articulation in the last one was pretty stiff, even though that's because it was like hard vinyl. This one being soft vinyl would be a little easier, but granted, Bandai's choices are sometimes leaving a lot to be questioned, or leaving a lot to be thought about and questioned. So it is what it is. Personally, I think it's a great figure if you're looking to complete your Heisei Godzilla figure line, or if you're a fan of Mothra and you're like the the divine moths, you need to get Battra because Battra is a badass. I'm just saying. But that'll just about do it for today's review. If you guys like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up down below. If you guys think that I may have missed something or I may have gotten something wrong, please be sure to hit me up in the comments. And if you like what you see on the channel, please do be sure to subscribe. Anyways, this has been Chanzilla1964 saying until next time, when we review the newly released Godzilla -1 Godzilla. Peace. Stay tuned.